I had asked you guys a couple weeks ago in the community tab, what are some of your best frugal tips? And you guys delivered and saved my bacon this week. So thank you to all the people who submitted responses, because they're the reason you get a video this week. So the most upvoted comment was from Backroad Money, who said, don't buy when you're emotional. You know, if you're angry, you're bored, you're stressed, or you're happy. And I'd never considered that sometimes you might just be spending irrationally without really thinking because you were having a positive emotion. Usually we associate it with negative emotions, right? But I totally could see it. Like if you're just going, woohoo, I got a big promotion at work, let's celebrate. If you're making a purchase because of the way you're feeling, and if the purchase wouldn't otherwise be in line with your values, you should check that out. Tammy kept it simple. Use it up. Which, if you're familiar with like the 4 cardinal frugal rules, use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without, then you'll know that that's like the most important, the first rule. Kathy just said, buy generic, which you've probably heard before, but you know what? People are actually starting to listen to this piece. I was in the grocery store a couple days ago, and check this out. So if you look through the ice cream aisle and there was all fully stocked ice cream until boom, you hit the generic section of the ice cream, gone. Nothing was there. Everyone had completely cleaned out the generic ice cream, which makes sense because it's basically the same thing. At $3.19 for a half gallon of generic ice cream versus $4, $5, $6 for like shrinkflation, not even a gallon ice cream. Like, it's a no-brainer, and people are catching on, and I'm so happy. Melissa said to reduce the number of shopping trips you make, which I covered in a previous video when I was talking about auditing my grocery budget. I went over budget mostly because of how many tiny grocery shopping trips I made that month. Because every time I went in just for one specific thing, I didn't just buy the one specific thing, I was also buying other junk food. It was always junk food. And you want to know why? It's because the people who designed grocery stores and the signs in grocery stores have studied psychology like their whole professional lives, and they are marketing geniuses, and they know exactly what to do to get you in the mood to buy things that taste good like junk food. So the fewer times you walk into a store, the fewer times you have to play chess with the marketing genius and probably lose. Porter says to delete your junk emails, or better yet, unsubscribe altogether, which I think is a fantastic piece of advice, unless you want to try this trick that I've been using for the last couple years. Instead of deleting and unsubscribing, anytime I walk into a store and they say, yes, could I please have your email? I don't know how they became British. Yes, can I have your email so that I can add you to our list and we'll give you 15% off? Anytime I get any of those comments, 100% of the time I said, yes, of course, I'd love to give you my email, but I don't give them my real email. Then I get all the junk. I have a separate junk email. And it's not even like with my normal email provider. It's a completely separate provider. So I don't even have the app on my phone for that email. If I want to check that email, I have to pull out my computer and check it from there. So I never check that email, but I got the discount the one day I signed up. And sometime if I've already committed to making a purchase from someone, let's say Old Navy, I can sometimes go into that junk email and use the search bar to just search Old Navy, see what messages pop up, and just see if they gave me a coupon recently, because sometimes they do. And then I saved $5 even though I was already planning on making that purchase. If you don't want to make an entirely separate email, unsubscribe from everything, delete all the emails. And also I would add, like, hide the shopping app icons on your phone, just so it's one less thing that's in your face and tempting you from spending money that you don't actually want to spend, right? Dawn the Money Mom says to automate your savings. Dawn, what a great idea. I've actually never done this one. However, it's so funny I'm making this video today because literally this afternoon, my husband was like, hey, hon, you know what we should do? We should really automate our savings and investing. Like, I'm not making this up. For so many years, we've either been living like paycheck to paycheck or paying off debt, or then we were trying to build an emergency fund and then having lots of emergencies and building back the emergency fund. But now we're at a point that at the end of every month, there's still money left over, and we've kind of just chucked whatever's left over into a sinking fund or investing for this month or whatever. But you know what? We're at a point, we should be automating that. So we're gonna. Thanks, Dawn. Linda, who's writing an entire encyclopedia on frugality, which she let me take a peek at, it was really cool, says to just change your attitude. And you had a lovely little comment, Linda. And at one point you used the word, it's not deprivation. And immediately, I don't know where this jumped into my brain, I always said, it's liberation. Frugality isn't deprivation. It's not depriving ourselves. It's not, oh, woe is me. Well, I have to act so poor It's not deprivation. Being frugal is a way of liberating yourself from all of these lies and all of these literally like these chains, these marketing chains, these ties to habits we don't really like. Being frugal is a way of liberating yourself from all of that so you can start spending money and behaving in a way that you actually want to. Barbara says to shop your pantry and your freezer and your garden and all that stuff before you even make your grocery list, which is the best. And I'm going to talk more about that next week, as long as I don't have a kid get sick. Later Time TV says to cook at home. Yep, all the time, all the cooking. Tonight we had what was it last night? Tonight I made mac and no cheese. It was vegan. And finally, Kitty, I love every time you make a comment. You wrote me an entire book, and I've actually pinned it to the very top of that community post, so if you want to read the whole thing, you can go check it out. But I did want to steal one little nugget that I thought was just gold. She says, if I could live without something for the rest of my life, if SHTF or something hits the fan, if I could live the rest of my life without something, if that happened, I can probably live without it now. Boom. I thought that was so great. I'm not saying that you never have to spend money on anything but the bare necessities, but I think it is important to just recognize when something is a want versus a need. I'm in a couple Facebook groups where people ask, like they post pictures of their budget and they ask, who can help me figure out what I can cut and where I can save? And I like helping those people out and commenting based on some of the strategies I've learned. And one of the things I notice about a lot of those people is a lot of the times they're like, well, I can't cut this and I can't cut this and I can't cut this. They're all needs. You know, I'm not living their life. I don't know exactly, but I think it is a worthy exercise to go through and think, is it a want or is it a need? It might be a very important want, but most of the time, a lot of these things are still wants. And especially if you're trying to meet a very close financial goal, like I just need to get out of a little bit of debt. Or maybe you have to get out of a decent bit of debt. Maybe you're trying to say, I just need to save a bit more from retirement now. Maybe I just need to have an emergency fund. It's worth checking with yourself and thinking, can I get by? Especially when they're like, oh, but I need the gym membership, but I really need Disney Plus for my kids. There are other ways. Being frugal is often an exercise in creativity. And especially when you're stressed from money, it's hard to be creative. And that's one of the reasons why I've made this channel, because I want to give you ready-made solutions and ideas for when you're having trouble coming up with those solutions on your own, because there are better ways. So if you could live with something, if it was no longer available, you could probably live without it now. So what is a want versus a need that you have recently been wrestling with? Let me know in the comments. Maybe we can all help each other out. And I've also linked to that video I mentioned about auditing my grocery budget. If you want to watch that next, you can do that right here. Bye, YouTube.